What's up, y'all? BK back here with another paddle review, and in this one, we're going to be talking about another budget beast in 2025. This paddle is one of the best value paddles on the market right now. This is a Gen 4 paddle that has completely taken the game by storm. For anybody that loves playing with the Boomstik but doesn't want to spend the $333 that the Boomstik cost, this is a fantastic replacement at just $100. So without further ado, let's go ahead and review the new Ronbus Quanta. Let's do it. If you are enjoying the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel below. It does help us support the channel a lot. You can subscribe right down here to BK Pickleball so we can continue putting out more great content for you. Now, Ronbus Pickleball is a brand that has come out with some very innovative technology in the past, and this paddle is no different. They were one of the first to incorporate a Gen 2 style of paddle, and they innovated the Gen 3 paddle with the Ronbus Ripple, and now the Ronbus Quanta is their Gen 4 style of paddle with that full foam core and an EVA ring plus TPE inserts on the outside of that core. Now this paddle comes in at $120, but you can use the code BK20 at ronbus.com to get $20 off this paddle, bringing the price down to $100. This paddle at just $100 is a fantastic value paddle, so let's go ahead and talk about what this paddle does well, what it doesn't, who it would suit, and why maybe you should try and get your hands on the new Ronbus Quanta. Now, talking about the specifications of this paddle, the Quanta comes in 5 different shapes. This is something that we aren't really seeing with too many brands at the moment, apart from maybe the Yolas and the Honolulu Pickleball paddles. So the 5 different shapes that this paddle has to offer is something that's really going to enable you to pick the shape that's right for you. With most other foam core paddles, we usually just see the elongated and the wide body style of paddle, and sometimes we throw in that extra hybrid shape. But with the Ronbus Quantas, the 5 different shapes really give you a lot of flexibility to kind of fine-tune exactly what type of shape you're looking for. I'll leave the specifications of all 5 paddles up on the screen for you to check out, but the 5 different shapes that they have really give you a wide range of variety when it comes to selecting the shape that you would like to play with. Now, what makes this paddle special is the core of the paddle. What we have is that full foam core, so no more polypropylene honeycomb, which gives it that much more enhanced durability without the fear of core crushing. What we also have is an EVA power ring on the outside, as well as TPE inserts at the bottom corners of the face. So the construction of this paddle is similar to the Selkirk Boomstik, with an added modification similar to that of the Yola Pro 4s. We have that foam core and that EVA power ring like the Boomstik, but the TPE inserts are something that we see in the Pro 4 that Ronbus have incorporated in the Quanta series. With that out of the way, let's talk about what you really want to hear about. Now, when talking about the performance of the paddle, the number one thing that stands out of the box is how light this paddle is and how low the twist weight of the paddle is. So this paddle comes in really light at 7.7 to 7.9 ounces for most of their shapes, and that is considerably lower than the Boomstik's average of 8.2 to 8.3 ounces. So what that does is not only does it allow you to make added modifications to the paddle with the extra weight that you can add with your tungsten or lead tape, but it also gives those players that struggle with heavier paddles an opportunity to play with a foam core paddle similar to the Boomstik. A lot of players that I talked to really found the weight of the Boomstik a major issue when it came to them purchasing the paddle. Most beginner intermediate players don't want a paddle over 8.2 and 8.3 ounces because it gives them a lot of issue with tennis elbow, and if you don't have the touch on the paddle, the weight can really hinder your swing. The twist weight of the Ronbus Quanta is extremely low, meaning that it tends to shake in your hand and the sweet spot is not as big as you would like out of the box. However, this is where the weight of the paddle, allowing you to make that extra modification by adding weights, comes in handy. What I've done with my Quanta is I've added weights to the side of the paddle, similar to where the weights on the Boomstik are. However, I didn't have to add as much as that MOI tuning system that comes on the Boomstik. The Boomstik has about 7.5 grams on each side, which really brings the weight of the paddle a lot higher than I would like. What I've done instead is simply added 3 to 4 grams on each side of the face, giving me a much more enhanced twist weight as well as giving me a much bigger sweet spot by adding that weight on the paddle. What this also allowed me to do is now add that extra bit of weight to the bottom corners of the face, which gives me more control and allow me to set up the paddle the way that I like. With the Boomstik, I wasn't able to do that because adding weights to the bottom corners of the face took my paddle up to 8.7 and 8.8 ounces, which really brought it way over my comfort level because I usually like to have my paddles at around 8.3 to 8.4 ounces tops. If you would like to get weights of your own, I highly recommend the Pickleball Effect tungsten tapes and their paddle tuning tapes. These are my favorite weights on the market, and you can check them out at pickleballeffectshop.com. Now, by adding these weights on the paddle, it really brought me a lot more stability and enhanced the sweet spot and almost made me feel like I was actually hitting a boomstick, but just at a weight that I was comfortable with. This is what this paddle does extremely well, is it gives you that top-notch performance in terms of power and pop without sacrificing that hand speed with the enhanced swing weight that comes with the Boomstik, and priced at $233 lower than the Boomstik. So for $100 you really are getting a premium paddle, and the ability to customize the paddle to your liking is something that I value a lot. Now, talking about the pure pop and power on this paddle, it is top notch. This paddle goes toe to toe with the Boomstik in terms of the power and pop, and the Boomstik to me is still one of the hardest hitting paddles on the market. This paddle really falls in the top 10th percentile in terms of power, and if you are someone that is looking for a budget Gen 4 power paddle, I don't think it gets much better than the Ronbus Quanta at $100. What I also like about this paddle is its ability to spin the ball. Because of that foam core and added dwell time, the ball really sits on the paddle face, allowing you to shape the ball the way you want to. The dwell time on the Ronbus Quanta to me felt much higher than the Selkirk Boomstik, which also gave me a much more enjoyable playing feel, and that is something that I really took away from the Quanta in comparison to the Boomstik, is that added dwell time gives you a much better feel for the ball, and I really enjoyed the plushness of the face compared to the Boomstik. Now again, with this design in the core of that foam core with that EVA power ring, you really aren't going to get a crazy high dwell time similar to the Gearbox GX2 Power. That paddle's dwell time is almost unbeatable on the market today. However, for the core construction and the design of the paddle, the dwell time is a lot higher than the Boomstik, which gave me a more comfortable playing feel. Now, the last thing I want to touch on with the Quanta is because they have 5 different shapes, it is a little bit difficult to pick and choose which shape would be right for you. So to make that choice a little bit easier, here is a little guide that'll help you figure out which paddle is right for you based on your game style. It is essential to pick the right paddle shape for your game style because I see a lot of players pick the wrong shape of paddle and really not be able to enhance their game with the paddle like they want to. Now, this is not the fault of the paddle, it's usually because you have the wrong shape. So, based on your skills and your game style, use this guide to make your decision on which shape is right for you. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is who is this paddle for? This paddle is for anybody that is looking for a high value paddle at under $100 that is going to give you a premium performance with that Gen 4 style of core that gives you that enhanced durability so the paddle will last you for a really long time. If you are someone that doesn't want to break the bank for a premium quality Gen 4 paddle, then this paddle is absolutely perfect for you, and I would highly recommend the Ronbus Quanta. Now, if you are going to get the Quanta, I would definitely recommend that you add the weights to the paddle to bring out the best performance that this paddle can produce. Now, my favorite setup is adding about 4 to 5 grams on each side of the paddle face, right around that center, and personally, I like to bring the weight of the paddle down. I like a head-light balance on my paddle, so I have a little bit of weight at the bottom corners of the face. Now, based on your personal game style, you don't necessarily have to add those weights on the bottom corners, but I would definitely recommend that you add those weights to the sides of the face at the 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock positions, because that's what's going to bring out the best performance of this paddle, enhancing the stability and the sweet spot of the Ronbus Quanta. Now, this paddle comes in in at $120, but you can use the code BK20 at ronbus.com to get $20 off this paddle, bringing the price down to $100. Now, if you enjoyed this review, make sure to subscribe down below to BK Pickleball, comment below what other paddles you'd like to see me review. Also follow me at BK_Pickleball on Instagram, put out a lot of great short form content on there as well. Like the video, share the video, do all the fun things, and until next time, I'll see you later.